Hi, if you did the June 24 reading paper, paper 2, this is just a quick recap analysis of that paper. So remember, there were 6 questions and you had 2 extracts to read. One from the 21st century, one from the 19th. Questions 1 and 2 were on the new extract, 3 and 4 on the older one, 5 and 6 on both. This resource was about 2 separate people, 200 years apart, swimming the English Channel. So question 1 then, nice easy question. There was 3 comprehension questions, so you should have gone through it, found the answer and maybe write a little sentence. So it was, how long did Sally 8 swim channel take? It was 15 hours and 30 minutes. Who told Sally that she should attempt to swim the channel? It was her swimming coach. And C, name one activity that Sally thinks she might learn after retiring from swimming. She said surfing and sailing, so you should have written either of those. Okay, question 2. This is the analysis question, and it was, how does the writer show that Sally loves sea and channel swimming? So you should have found quotes that showed that and then analysed the use of language. So remember, the key to doing well in this question is trying to use as many quotes as possible. So it's almost like a point and mark to some degree. So try to use as many as you could. And this question is all about picking out quotes and saying the effect on the reader. You need a range of quotes in this exam, so you would have been marked down if you'd just taken a few from the start. You've got to make sure you take quotes from all over the extract. And it's about being a human dictionary, picking out words and say what they mean. So for example, if the question was, how does the writer show the man's injury? And the quote was, he shattered his leg. Why has the writer used that verb? So it's not he hurt his leg. It's not he injured his leg. It's shattered. So you need to zoom into that word and say what it means. Well, what does shattered mean? It means broken into small pieces, destroyed. So an answer might be, the writer shows the man's injuries with shattered. This tells me his leg has been destroyed and broken into many small pieces. Again, if it was about how does the writer show this is about men living in prison, that they lived in tough conditions, and the quote was, I was utterly malnourished. What does that word mean? Well, it means you're physically weak because you don't have enough food or the right kind of food. So again, shove your answer, give me an explanation. Nice and simple. So your one was, how does the writer show that Sally loves sea and channel swimming? So you should have gone through it, found 5 to 10 things, highlighted 5 to 10 things that show she loves the swimming. And here are some quotes that I picked out. The sea is really in her heart and soul. The 8th solar crossing over 6 consecutive decades. Sea swimming has always been a huge part of Sally's life. It's more than just a hobby, it was my passion. It's invigorating, exhilarating. I live for it. By the time she was 10, she was already a fiercely competitive swimmer. Like no other feeling I'd ever experienced. Being in the water is where I'm happiest. So there was lots more quotes. I've just picked out the ones that stood out to me. So the idea is, zoom in on a few of these, see if you can do 4 or 5 at least. Be that human dictionary. So for example, when I talk about one where it says invigorating, exhilarating, what does invigorating mean? Well, it means giving you life, giving you energy. What does exhilarating mean? It means it makes you excited and makes you feel happy about doing something. So my answer would have been, the writer shows Sally loves sea swimming with the quote, it's invigorating, exhilarating. This tells the reader she thinks it gives her energy and she finds it exciting. Another one she said was, it was more than a hobby, it was my passion. So what does the word passion means? Like a strong enthusiasm or desire for something. So she's saying that's what it was. It wasn't just something she did to pass the time or for fun. It was really a passion in her life. So I've put, this tells the reader she has a great love and enthusiasm for swimming. Again, there was other ones. So heart and soul, 6 consecutive decades. You could talk about that she's done it all her whole life. Huge part of Sally's life. She lives for it. Fiercely competitive swim at the age of 10, so you could talk about that. And she's the happiest, so that basically she's the most happy when she's in the water. Okay, question 3 is exactly the same as question 1, but it was on the other extract. Remember, this is the one, this was the guy who did the first channel swim 200 years ago. It's the same as it's the same as the modern one, really. It might be a slightly harder to read, but don't get stressed about it. And again, you're finding the answers in the text. So the question is, what is Captain Webb compared to when he begins his swim? You could have had a large seal or huge fish. How long did Captain Webb think his channel swim would take? About 14 hours. And what could be heard as Captain Webb came close to completing his swim? You could have had people cheering or men singing Rule Britannia. Any of those would have been fine. Question 4 is exactly the same as question 2, but it's on the older extract. Your question was, we're never sure that Captain's Web attempt to swim the channel will be successful until the very end. Do you agree? So you should have maybe tried to find quotes that show he was sort of struggling to do it really until the very end. 2 types of wording for this question, if you have to do this again. It's the one that was in the question, or it might be slightly rephrased to what do you think and feel about Arthur Penn's views on Webb crossing the channel. Like I said, it's easy. It's same as question 2, but you agree with the question. So that would be an example of a question 4. And then question 2 is like, how does the writer show his attempt was unsuccessful? So same question, really. So again, go through it. You have to do that little statement again where you decide how much you agree. And these are the ones I picked out. I'll go into those into detail in a second, actually. I'll just pick out a few first. But again, be a human dictionary, but also use your brain. So there's obvious ones that stand out. Remember, you're showing how it looked like he might be unsuccessful. At the start, it says he was swimming strongly with a stroke of 22 at the minute. And in the third paragraph, towards the end, he was now only swimming 16 strokes a minute. So that is an easy one where you can just say, it shows he may be unsuccessful with he was now only swimming 16 strokes to the minute. This tells the reader that the Webb was getting slower and slower throughout the channel, maybe even slow enough that he might come to a complete stop. Again, pick out a quote and talk about what it means. So the quote I picked out was he was fearfully exhausted. What does fearful mean? Well, it basically means being really full of dread or scared, apprehension. Exhausted means being incredibly tired, no energy. So I've put one quote that shows he may not be successful was fearfully exhausted. This tells the reader that Webb looked so drained of energy that the support boat was extremely worried about him. Again, here are the other ones. So I am stung. So he was stung by a jellyfish. Might be the signal for giving up. So that was successful because the people in the support boat thought maybe that was going to be it. Evident symptoms of fatigue. Again, that's him being really tired. He appeared very anxious. So again, you could talk about he was maybe seemed very worried in the water. They didn't think he was going to get through it. The tide carrying him away from the French coast. So the tide was getting stronger. The tide was taking him away from where he was meant to get to. He began to lose all hope and he was fearfully exhausted. Question 5 then. So question 5 and 6 you have to answer from both texts. Question 5 is 4 marks. So it's the same as question 1 and 3, but pull it in. You need evidence from both texts. Pull it into sentences. This means you probably have to pick out 2 quotes from each text. You don't have to compare in this question, and you don't need to explain or analyse your answers. This question was using information from both texts, explain briefly the weather conditions faced by either person. So talk about whether it was like sunny or stormy or foggy or misty. Be clear which text you're talking about. The easiest way to do this is by using the names which are on the exam paper. So remember, you have to find quotes about weather conditions, 4 marks, so find 2 quotes from each. And like I said, use the names. Lucy Griffiths and Arthur Payne. So Lucy Griffiths said that Sally's first ever crossing was completely even thick fog. She said there was a light breeze, while Arthur Payne said there was some mist. And he says by the end, rain clouds have begun to form. Always do a little sentence starter. Try not to do just quotes. To be honest, you probably would get the marks for just putting the quotes, but you need to make sure. Okay, question 6 then is exactly the same as question 5. You have to answer from both texts, but you need more quotes. It's worth 10 marks. You need to pick out 4 or 5 quotes from each text. You don't need to compare in this question. I'll talk about that in a second. No explanations or analysis needed. This time it was, so compare. So I would say if you're looking for 7, 8 out of 10, you don't need to compare. Just do what I say in a minute. If you're someone who was looking for a grade 8 or grade 9, then you probably do need to compare a little bit and analyse your answers. So this question was both these texts about swimmers who successfully swam the English Channel. Talk about what makes Sally and Captain Webb successful channel swimmers. That's all you had to do if you're going for grade 4 to 7, really. Yeah. If you want to analyse, then you have to do the second bullet point. So again, do exactly the same as question 5. Do exactly the same as question 5. So go through both texts, highlight what makes them successful swimmers, look for 4 or 5 quotes from each extract. So an example was Sally never got cold in the water. That made her successful because, yeah, she could stay in there a long time. So again, use their names, and here are the answers that I got. She says swimming is a passion for Sally. She says Sally never gets cold in the water. Sally trained hard to build her endurance. She's done swimming 8 times over 6 consecutive decades. Well, Arthur Payne, he says Webb toiled on bravely even though he was exhausted. He says Webb swam strongly. He says Webb's level of endurance was a triumph. He says Webb was very determined. Okay, so those are the answers. Obviously, there's more. I haven't gone over them all, but that's just an idea of what you should be looking to do. I hope that gives you a bit of confidence getting your results. And yeah, good luck when your exam results come out.